Hey guys, welcome back to Coach Hall Writes. Today's video is about new information for the 2020 AP Lang exam. The first thing that students need to be aware of is that there are demos coming out on May 4th, and these demos are going to be very important in terms of preparing for the exam, simply because this is the best way to check your technology and its compatibility with the exam system. So first of all, if the demo does not work on your device, the exam is not going to work on your device. One thing to keep in mind is that the College Board has said that the exam system is not compatible with Internet Explorer. So if you typically use Internet Explorer, then you're going to need to use a different browser. Also, it's possible that some of the different plugins that you might have on your browser might not be compatible with the exam system, so you would need to simply either uninstall those or disable those in order for the demo to work properly. Another thing to be aware of, let's say you are using an approved browser but the demo is still not working, it might simply be because your browser itself is out of date, so you would simply need to update your browser. If you continue to have problems after that, I would contact your AP coordinator. Hopefully they can put you in touch with the IT people at your school in order to help you troubleshoot even further. So which browsers can you actually use? Well, we said you can't use Internet Explorer, but you can use Google Chrome, Safari, Firefox, etc. So there are plenty of options. You're going to want to make sure that you have these already installed on your computer before you attempt to access that demo. One of the plugins that we know is definitely not going to work with the test system is the Grammarly plugin. Now, please don't misunderstand. This is not the College Board's way of saying that you can't use any kind of spell check software. It's simply that the Grammarly plugin is not compatible with the test system. So you need to make sure that you have that either disabled or uninstalled. It's up to you. It's not a security concern. It's literally just a compatibility concern. So how exactly do you access the exam? This is also very important for students to understand. And so you're going to be receiving an email. The email is going to contain an e-ticket, and that email should come to you 2 days before your exam testing date. If you are going to be taking multiple AP tests, then you should be receiving multiple emails each 2 days before that specific test. In that email, you're going to be getting your AP ID, and that is something that you're going to need to keep track of. Do not give that information out to anybody else. That is for you and you only. Another thing to be aware of is that you can actually access this information by using your My AP account as well. So if you have trouble getting information from the College Board sent to your email, or there's some kind of issue with your email, there is a second place that you can go to access this information. So on the day of the exam, you are actually going to be able to log into your exam 30 minutes prior to the start time. So you need to be aware of the start time for your time zone because everybody is taking the exam at the exact same time worldwide. Once you've logged in, there are going to be some identity questions that you need to answer. Once you have completed those, you simply need to sit tight. Don't close out of anything, don't refresh anything. There's actually going to be a timer on your screen, and it's going to be counting down, and that's going to tell you when the exam has started. So basically, when the timer runs out, that means that you're going to have the exam start. You don't need to click anything, it will simply happen automatically. Now let's talk about conflicts for a second. If you are not able to test on the May date, you are simply going to receive an email about the June date and everything else is going to be the same. However, you need to be aware of the fact that there is no makeup for the June date. So if you experience any kind of technology problems or another conflict that would prevent you from testing on that date in June, then you're not going to be able to have a second makeup. So make sure that you are planning accordingly for that. I know a lot of students are worried about what to do if there's a problem the day of the exam. Let's say you're taking the test and all of a sudden your computer crashes and you can't get it to work again. Then what do you do? Well, if there is something that happens to you that would be detrimental to your score, you can simply request to take the makeup test. If you're approved to take the makeup test, then they're going to send you an email, and you're also going to receive a new testing ticket for the June exam 2 days prior to the June testing date. So let's talk about troubleshooting for a second. So if you experience problems the day of the exam, do not call the College Board. Simply follow their protocol for applying for that makeup test. Also, it's possible that you might experience a relatively minor or temporary glitch on testing day. And so if you're able to just log back in and finish taking the test and you don't feel it would be detrimental to your score, then just upload and submit as normal. Okay, so now let's talk about the information that you need to know if you are going to be testing on a computer. So let's say you're testing on either a desktop or a laptop. What do you need to know? First of all, you're basically going to be having a side-by-side experience, so you're going to need a second window. You're going to have your exam window on one side, and you're going to have your typing window on the other side. So your typing window could be Google Docs, it could be Microsoft Word. You have a couple options here. The easiest one, in my opinion, would simply be to type your essay in your typing window and then to copy and paste, because you're not going to be able to actually type in the exam window. So you can either copy and paste, or you can actually attach your document. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that you must access and submit the exam on the same device. Another thing to be aware of is that it is absolutely crucial that students submit during the allotted time. So you need to be watching the timer on your screen. The timer is going to be counting down, so you're going to have 50 minutes total. This is 45 minutes for reading and writing, and then 5 minutes to upload or submit. And so it's very important that you respect that upload time. As soon as the timer gets to 5 minutes, it's going to turn red. At that point, you should submit. Don't try to make any last minute changes, or, oh, I just need one more sentence, I just need to squeeze this in, or, oh, I just need to read it one more time. No, just submit. It is far better to submit something that is imperfect than to try to perfect it and then miss your window. So when the timer turns red, submit. I don't even care if you're halfway through a sentence, just submit. Because the College Board has said that they understand that there are going to be times when students are not going to have what they would consider complete work. Guys, it's basically a rough draft. It is a timed test. So do not jeopardize your submission window simply because you wanted perfection. Just submit. And what about those of you who are taking the essay by hand? What do you guys need to know? Well, first of all, you are going to be submitting photos of your work. So you're going to be taking vertical photos, which means you're probably going to be using your phone. That would seem to be the best way to do this. Now, you get to submit up to 5 photos. So most students don't actually write 5 pages worth of writing for an essay, but 5 pages is the max. So what you need to do is take one picture of one piece of paper, and you're going to be submitting each photo individually. So one thing to do to save time would be to actually put your APID and your initials on the paper in advance, because taking these photos could potentially be a bit more time consuming than if you were to simply just use the option of copying and pasting if you were taking it on a device. So you need to be able to have a clear space to take these pictures on the day of the exam. And remember, you're taking a picture of each page that you've written on for your essay. If you do extra notes or annotations or outlines, you do not need to submit those. One tip that I have is to practice taking pictures of your own writing in advance, because you want to make sure that it actually comes across very clearly in a photograph. So take those photos, show them to somebody else, maybe a parent or a guardian or a friend, maybe a brother or sister, and ask them if they could read it clearly, because you want to be able to get as close as possible without having too much shadow on your photo. Another thing to consider is that you can use any type of paper. It should be close to 8.5 by 11, but it does not need to be notebook paper. So there's no specification of wide ruled or college ruled. You can use unlined paper as well. So worst case scenario, if you have printer paper, that would be acceptable. But remember, 1 page per photograph, and you're going to upload those individually. A quick note about accommodations. If you have pre-approved accommodations like extended time, then this is already going to be factored in to your exam. That extended time will already be factored in. However, if you have other accommodations, then I recommend that you talk to your AP coordinator about what the different protocol is for that accommodation. Now, let's say that you have a temporary affliction. Let's say that the day before the exam, you break your arm and you have a cast and you're not going to be able to type the way you normally would. Well, there are a couple different solutions. First of all, you can go on the College Board's website and they have protocol for temporary afflictions. Also, you could simply elect to take the June test. Okay, so now let's go over some testing day reminders. It's going to be very important that you have your materials ready in advance. The College Board is actually going to come out with some checklists for students, which will be very helpful. I recommend that you have your paper and pens ready, you need your device ready, and obviously you need access to your e-ticket as well. It's also very important that you guys find a quiet testing area in your home, someplace where you have enough space to write and type whatever it is you're doing. You want to make sure that there are minimal to no distractions because you don't want to lose focus. Another thing to be aware of is that you should be putting your devices on Do Not Disturb. Even if you're typing on your computer, your phone should be on Do Not Disturb, simply because a text message or a notification could pop up and it could distract you. And if you lose focus, it can be really difficult to get back into the swing of things. So make sure that you are setting yourself up for success in that regard. I've actually done a video about this already, so a lot of these tips are in that video as well. Another thing to do is to inform your family and friends that you are not going to be available during that hour-and-a-half window of exam time. So tell them that you are not going to be available 30 minutes prior to the start time of your test, and also that entire hour of the test. I know the exam's only 50 minutes, but for me personally, I would need about 10 minutes to decompress. So give yourself an hour-and-a-half window where you're not going to be available. Also, let them know the times, because if you are living with people who like to play Fortnite or like to watch Netflix, they might need to not do that during that hour-and-a-half window, because if you guys have like low bandwidth or something, it could really slow down your internet. I've heard some speculation lately that because the exam is only one essay, people think, oh, it must be harder than other years. And guys, that's simply not true. Now, I will admit rhetorical analysis is not everyone's favorite type of essay. But that being said, if you look at previous exam passages, they vary in degree of difficulty. I'll admit there are certain passages that I prefer to teach as a teacher, and there are some that I look at and I don't want to teach them because I don't like them. And there are some passages that I give my kids and I tell them, guys, this is the worst case scenario. This is about as hard as it gets. But here's the thing. If you open up the exam and the passage is incredibly challenging, first of all, it's probably going to be challenging for more than just you, but also that is going to be taken into consideration. So the more difficult the passage, then the lower the cut score points need to be. So therefore, don't freak out. Don't assume that just because the passage is hard, that you're automatically going to get a 1 or a 2 composite. If the passage is hard, then you are going to need fewer points to maintain that cut score to get the desired composite. So make sure that you focus on the task at hand, regardless of how easy or difficult the passage is. It doesn't matter if it's a speech or a letter. It doesn't matter if it is pre-20th century or something that is really current. You need to focus on the rubric. So you need to make sure that you have a defensible thesis and evidence and commentary. Make sure that you are analyzing the writer's choices. That's going to help you be successful. So regardless of how easy or difficult it is, don't panic. Just write your essay. And after you submit, don't panic either. I know it's really tempting because you're going to be second guessing yourself and, oh, what if I had written this? Or why didn't I think of writing about this? And honestly, just give yourself some grace. Do the best you can in those 45 minutes and then stay calm. Wait until you receive your score, because all you're going to do is stress yourself out unnecessarily if you worry about what you could have done. Just simply stay calm. I know it's easier said than done, but wait until you see your score. Okay, so now let's talk about scoring info. So at a recent webinar for teachers, they said that teachers are going to be able to request a review of a student's score if they choose to. Also, the scores themselves are going to be slightly delayed compared to the normal time frame, but only by about a week. So approximately 1 week, possibly 2 weeks. So you're still going to get your scores in July. It's just a matter of the fact that the exam window has been pushed back and also people are scoring remotely. So this is totally understandable given the circumstances. Also, we do not know the cut score that students need to achieve. So a lot of students want to know, okay, what score do I need to earn on my essay in order to make a 3 composite or a 4 composite or a 5 composite? And guys, we don't know that information just yet. As a general rule of thumb, I've told my students I want them to aim for a 4 out of 6. However, that does not mean that that's a guaranteed pass on the exam. So it's really important that you know your rubric and you go for as many points as possible. Okay, so how can you prepare for the exam? Well, knowing everything that we know now, the best thing to do is to use that demo to practice to make sure that everything is compatible and going to work smoothly in terms of technology on the day of the exam. Another thing to do is to make sure that you are actually receiving the College Board's emails. Like I said before, you're going to get an email, but also you're going to be able to access this information via your My AP account. So you should be able to access that now. So go ahead and log in if you haven't actually gotten an email from the College Board. Double check that you entered your email address correctly. It's possible that it could have gone to your spam folder, so double check that as well. Also, make sure that you check the box that says that you want to receive updates, because if you didn't check that box, then you're probably not going to be receiving those emails. how else can you prepare for the 2020 APLing exam? I already said that I recommend that students are very familiar with the rubric, but I would also recommend that you guys look at those student samples that the College Board has released on their website. Even if you've already looked at them, go back and look at them again before the exam. One thing to remember is that it's going to be 2 different documents. So there's going to be one document for the essays themselves and then one document for the commentary. Another thing that I would recommend is that you guys actually practice writing your essays like you would for the exam. There are plenty of released passages online, so go ahead and find one that you like, maybe one that you've never seen before, and practice like you would for exam day. So this would mean that you would need to do a split screen if you're going to be using a laptop, or if you're going to be doing it on your phone, then go ahead and access it on your phone and then take pictures of it. Make sure you're simulating the exam experience as much as possible. This includes only allowing yourself 45 minutes to write that essay. If you guys have any additional questions, let me know in the comments below. Please make sure that you are actively checking out the College Board's website and their social media, because that is a great resource of information. If you guys have any additional video requests between now and the APLing exam, let me know. I'm happy to help. And until next time, guys, happy writing!